Hey, I'm Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. It's October 22nd. We're going to speak 2017. We're going to be spending the next couple of hours together. I trust that you've got a comfortable place and that everything is working well for you. We always have our beginning issues. I trust that you're able to get this off of the Facebook. I have a monitor set up so that I can watch it and I can't get it. So that's not new. We've pretty much done that every week so far. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. Haven't been able to make it work. A lot of stuff's been happening in the last week since we spent our time together. I wanted to share with some of the things that have occurred. This week at home, we're going to look a little bit later at the things that might have happened overseas, but right here at home. Early in the Trump administration, the news reported that the economy was suffering and that it would likely implode. That's apparently the result of 8 years of extravagant spending and deliberate strangling by shameless progressives. That didn't enter into the announcer's copy. I mean, that isn't something they tell you is the reason why they expected all of this to come unglued. But here we are about 9 months into the program, and there is a resurgence in the so-called Trump trade. Investors have once again jumped into the market and are looking at investing. The folks at Dow Jones are contemplating a new milestone in their industrial average. This time, the most well-known and oldest U.S. equity benchmark is set to hit 23,000 for the first time ever, notching its fourth straight 1,000-point climb over the last 12 months. Now, that would be the largest number of such 1,000-point moves within any given calendar year in the benchmark's 120-plus year history. So says Wall Street Journal, their marketing data group. The Dow Jones average remains about 60 points away from the next milestone. And if it manages to clear that within the next 14 trading sessions, the blue chip average would rise to its third fastest climb of 1,000-point milestones since mid-July. Now, all this comes with the obvious warning that some experts say that evaluations have gotten too lofty too fast, and there may actually be a correction. But we're not looking at the total collapse of the market the way some folks wanted us to think. The owners of an Arizona restaurant, the restaurant is called Cup It Up. I guess they sell coffee. They posted a Facebook post, that's kind of redundant, but I don't know how else to say it, on their Facebook, a list of things that they supported. And they also listed a bunch of stuff that they opposed. What did they support? Well, they supported President Donald Trump. And they supported standing for the national anthem. The things that they opposed were things like Antifa and the kneeling during the national anthem. They concluded by saying on their Facebook that if you like this post, please share it with 5 friends. And we look forward to your next visit. If you disagree with the post, please share it with 100 friends. And we won't be expecting you anytime soon. God bless the United States of America. How do you think that went over? Well, it went over like a lead balloon. You knew it would. According to the website Tucson.com, the post went insanely viral and garnered hate from people across the country. People didn't even know these folks, including one person who said they wanted to burn the restaurant to the ground with the owners inside. Now, the restaurant deleted the post about 3 hours after they put it up. The long-term fallout of all of this is that the restaurant was receiving so many angry phone calls that several employees decided they'd rather quit than deal with all of this. Julian Alarcon, the chef and partner in the restaurant, quit as well and was reportedly meeting with an attorney to separate himself from the backlash legally. How did the owners respond? Well, the owners apologized for bringing politics into a business forum, but said the only reason the post garnered so much outrage is because it supported Trump. Our decision, they said, to bring personal political beliefs into a business forum is regretful, and for this we apologize to all. This is the state of affairs in 21st century America. In America, where Facebook and Twitter control the environment. An America that's given young people, radicals, and other dysfunctional types a voice, a public voice. They're just sitting around doing nothing. These aren't productive people for the most part. And having been given the voice, they're using it. To do what? Well, to yell at you. The same as they do their parents, I suppose, or the same as they do their relatives or their neighbors or their teachers or their coaches or their bosses or their friends. To yell at you as if they know what's right and they know what's wrong, and you don't. You posted your opinion, but you're not allowed to have a disparate opinion. They insist on their right to say whatever they feel, and at the same time they reserve the right to shout down anybody who disagrees with what they believe, as though what they're saying in opposition to this crowd is a crime. Welcome to the crazy house that is the 21st century. You have been living under a rock or a van down by the river if you don't know that there was a huge fire, a wildfire it's called, in California, in wine country. You've seen the pictures on newsreels, no doubt. Entire neighborhoods leveled down to the ground, nothing but ashes, literally. Wildfires that have caused billions of dollars in damage. And that's just to the insured property. There's no way to know how much uninsured property has been damaged. Nearly 7,000 homes completely gone. 42 people at last count had lost their lives. And the experts tell us that all of these numbers are preliminary. Now, time is going to tell us how much damage was actually done. But why did the fire start in the first place? Well, now we're being told by the officials there in California that it was started by an illegal immigrant. A person who has been deported from this country 2 times and keeps coming back. Why? Well, because he can. California and Sacramento County are sanctuary states, sanctuary counties, meaning they don't communicate with federal officials like marshals and immigration. But there's more. The experts are wondering why this fire spread so rapidly and did so much damage. And that's not a new wonderment. The Forest Service has wondered, pondered, and looked into why there has been so much damage beginning in the 1980s and up until this time. What they have decided is that this is the direct result, not the fire itself, but the amount of damage it does because of the heat that it generates and the fuel that it has. It is the result of the liberal, progressive environmental policies that came into vogue during the Clinton era and has continued. U.S. Representative Tom McClintock took to the U.S. House of Representatives floor on October 3rd, before this fire, to point out that the 1970s laws like the National Environmental Policy Act and the Endangered Species Act, naming two in particular, have led to poor forest management. The policies overturned were successful in protecting the forests, the animals, and everybody who lived in the area. McClintock argued that 45 years ago the U.S. began imposing laws that have made the management of our forests all but impossible. Private landowners clearly have done a better job than the bureaucrats. Better job in managing the forests, he insisted. Well, what did they do? Well, they did what we used to do, what the Forest Service did for generations. They instituted controlled burns. Burns that removed the vegetation that accumulates on the floor of these forests. Something the environmentalists and the purists in this world said was wrong. Let it be natural. Nature takes care of itself. Well, it does. And fires occur. And the fires actually stimulate the forest. But the fires burn everything in sight. And when there is debris piled on the floor of that forest, the heat is far more intense. The fuel is rich, sometimes 2 foot deep. It's tinder. Science and experience was abandoned in favor of a hippie naturalism. And now when the fires start, they destroy larger areas, they last longer, and they kill people. That's our progressive environmentalism at work. Are you paying any attention to the NFL issue? You know what it is. Well, the owners are paying attention. We thought they were having a meeting last week in New York and they were going to talk about this, but they said it wasn't even on the agenda. The owners are really confused. The players are conflicted. And it appears the fans are disgusted. Should a football team member be forced to honor the flag of the nation to which he owes his life, liberty, and pursuit of all things good? That's a matter of conscience. That the NFL and others are even debating the issue is what's really troubling. That the NFL considers that they cannot force people to do things contrary to their nature. And that if they were to do that, it would fly in the face of all that the NFL is about. Well, what are they going to force them to do? Are they going to force them to stay in shape? Are they going to force them to show up at training? Are they going to force them to eat properly, sleep properly, do the things that actually make for good football? Are they going to force them to learn the hundreds of plays and be able to run their routes or be able to do their blocking? Are they going to force them to do things that are contrary to their nature, to their physical ability? Yeah, they are. It's called training. It's called conditioning. It's called practicing. It's called listening to your coach. And they're being paid handsomely by these owners for all of that. But showing respect for the American flag, that seems to be optional for these workers who are under contract to team owners who think that is reprehensible. Try it at your place of employment. Try making a stand against all that that company represents and see if they have the right, legal and morally, to fire you. They do, you know. You have to show up on time. You have to wear the uniform. You have to do the job, and you need to do it safely. You need to follow procedure. But if you're an NFL player making millions of dollars, you can do whatever you want? Makes no sense to me. And the NFL is losing money big time. You've seen it. I showed you a picture on my website in the carousel part that rolls by. If you look at thebibleforum.net, it'll be up the rest of this week. But it's a picture of a public library in Long Branch, California. A library that has a history of presenting a large array of what are called inclusion agenda topics. It is the Michelle Obama Public Library. But we never really saw much about this until just recently, when Zoshi Moki arrived for a visit. Now, Moki is not a given name. It's a name this guy has taken. He's a guy. He's a male. But he's a drag queen. He considers himself part of the killer clown movement. Killer with a K, clown with a K. It's in his Twitter bio. He showed up dressed as a demon. Now, he's a transvestite. You know, he's a cross-dresser and all that. He shows up dressed as a demon with horns and everything to read to children 5 to 7 years of age and to read to them about transgenderism. That made the program pro-LGBTQ. It made it transgender. It made it drag queen friendly. It made it Satanist approved with the character's red-tipped demon-like horns. This was happening during History Month and was advertised as Drag Queen Story Hour. Did I tell you these are 5 to 7 year olds? Maybe 4 to 7. There's pictures. They're little kids. According to Long Beach Public Library's calendar, it was in collaboration with the LBPL, that's the library, and the LGBTQ Center of Long Beach, the Genders and Sexualities Alliance Network, and the LGBTQ nonprofit Imperial Court of Long Beach. The event description reads, "Join us for a celebration of LGBTQ History Month. All ages welcome. Celebration will include Drag Queen Story Hour featuring Zoshi Moshi at 12 p.m., a community art hour at 1 p.m., and an LGBTQ history timeline workshop starting at 2. Brought to you by a collaboration between the Long Beach Public Library, the LGBTQ Center of Long Beach, the GSA Network, and the Imperial Court of Long Beach. All of this to give young children, quote, unabashedly queer role models, end of quote. That's on the website. It says the Drag Queen Story Hour captures the imagination and play of the gender fluidity of childhood and gives kids glamorous, positive, and unabashedly queer role models. In spaces like this, kids are able to see people who defy rigid gender restrictions and imagine a world where people can present as they wish, where dress up is real, end of quote. Now, it's no secret that the U.S. entertainment industry is entrenched with devil worshippers who are actively working to promote and to normalize Satanism in American culture. All you have to do is turn on your television or watch a movie. According to Carl Payne, who is an author, a pastor, and a former NFL chaplain, he says, if you have more and more people who are watching programming on demonism or spiritism, on occultism or Satanism, you're going to have a growing number of people who get scared. Coming to a library near you? I don't know. The Colorado Christian baker who was sued for refusing to make a cake for a same-sex couple has been asked to design a cake celebrating Satan's birthday. Now, you do realize these people go out and find businesses like this that they know are going to resist just to make a point. Jack Phillips, who's the baker, said the email request came saying, I would like to get a quote on a birthday cake for a special event. It went on to say it's a cake that is religious in theme, and since religion is a protected class, I'm hoping that you will gladly bake this cake. As you see, the birthday cake in question is to celebrate the birthday of Lucifer, or as they are also known, Satan. Now, why it said they, I do not know, but that's what it said. Satan, who was born as Satan when he was cast from heaven by God. Their crest was asking for a price quote, which also included an upside-down cross under the head of Lucifer. Now, you know the baker's probably not going to do that. So we will have a follow-up story. They're going to court. Now, I grew up in a world where if you pulled your car into the garage and the guy, the mechanic there, said he didn't want to work on it, you had to go someplace else. But in this world, that'd take you to court and you got to pay tons of money. Or in the case of a homosexual marriage, you got to go to jail and pay money, and you still got to do it. It's a crazy world. Here's something under the heading of things that break your heart. In Maryland, a 3-judge panel ruled on a memorial that has stood in the park for 92 years and declared that memorial, quote, excessively entangles the government in religion, end of quote. What's this memorial? Well, you can guess what it is. It's a giant cross. Huge, giant cross. A cross that has stood there in that park for 92 years. The ruling determined that the cross is the core symbol of Christianity, and as such it breaches the wall separating church and state. Who was it that argued against the cross? A minority group. The American Humanist Association. Monica Miller, senior counsel with the American Humanist Association's Humanist Legal Center, said in a statement, the court correctly ruled that the cross unconstitutionally endorses Christianity and favors Christians to the exclusion of all other religious Americans. What did the previous court ruling say about the cross? According to the Baltimore Sun in November 2015, the U.S. District Court in the District of Maryland ruled that despite the monument's cross shape, its purpose isn't primarily religious and therefore is constitutional. You see, the site is used for Memorial Day and Veterans Day celebrations. It's about fallen heroes that were Christian. I don't know. There is a sheriff in Virginia who's not happy that NFL players are taking a knee during the national anthem, disrespecting the flag, the military, and this great country. So Bedford County Sheriff Mike Brown put his money where his mouth is, and he paid for a highway billboard that pushes back against the protests, declaring in no uncertain terms what law enforcement stands for and what it kneels for. The billboard reads, "Law enforcement stands," and places hand over heart for national anthem. We kneel when we pray. You can see this on Route 460 near Bedford County entrance coming in near Lynchburg. The head of an association of Olympic athletes wants to require anyone who participates in the summer or winter games to be implanted with a tracking chip to prevent the use of performance-enhancing drugs. Mike Miller is the chief executive officer of the World Olympians Association, and he said recently that, at an anti-doping forum in London, that athletes should accept digital implants or be barred from Olympic-level competition. Some people say it's an invasion of privacy, Miller said. Well, sport is a club, and people don't have to join the club if they don't want to, if they can't follow the rules. You see where we're going? There's a chip for everything. And as a Christian, I think it's a wonderful idea. Don't you? I mean, you have credit cards. They got the little chips in it now that basically represents you. The credit card companies put those little square chips in so that the merchant would become responsible for any problem and not they. Not all merchants know that. It stays in there for a few seconds because the transaction takes place right there on that machine. But if it's doing that, why do you need a card? Look how small it is. And I think it's Amazon or one of the big outfits like that that has a store where all you have to do is walk in, pick up your product, whatever you like, and walk out the door. And it scans your card and you pay for it. You just walked in, picked it up, and walked out. I can think of probably 100 other things that say this is a great idea. It's going to save a lot of time and trouble. But a lot of Christians say, yeah, but it's the mark of the beast. Yeah, he will use that when the time comes. But between now and then, you can look for a lot more of it. Don't be afraid of it. Are you born again of the Spirit of God? You ain't going to be here for all of that. Enjoy yourself.